Welcome back. All right, let's just jump right in and talk about it. The world, it just feels a little glitchy, doesn't it? I mean, conflicts are raging, the climate is doing all sorts of unpredictable things, and just the basic fabric of reality feels kind of unstable. But what if all this chaos isn't a breakdown? What if it's actually a massive collective wake-up call?
Oh, and before we really dive deep, just a quick transparent note for you. The voice you're hearing, it's powered by AI. But, and this is the important part, every single piece of this explainer, the research, the script, the editing, is all crafted and reviewed by a real human. Brandon, the author behind our source material, The Dreams of Phillip Aisling. He makes sure every single one of these feels intentional, ethical, and, well, deeply human.
Okay, so let's get into the heart of it. Let's be honest with ourselves for a second. Doesn't it just feel like something is off? Like the basic code of our reality has gotten a little corrupted? Glitchy is honestly the perfect word for it. It's this feeling of instability that I think we all sense, even if we can't always put our finger on exactly what it means.
So yeah, let's start by just putting a name to that feeling. We're calling this first part, the world feels glitchy, because that's the shared reality, the shared experience we're all trying to make sense of right now. And look, these aren't just random isolated things, they are all symptoms of the same condition. You've got these huge geopolitical rifts, you've got intense social and political polarization that feels like it's tearing us apart. The economy seems like it's on a roller coaster that never ends. And then you throw in things like AI deepfakes that make you question what's even real, these wild climate shifts, and even strange celestial events. It feels less like history just moving along and more like our entire collective operating system is just flashing a giant error code. Now, for those of you who were with us for the last explainer, you'll remember we focused on the tools for personal lucidity. How to wake up inside your own dreams. Well, that work was so important because today we're taking those exact same tools and we're scaling them up to the planetary level. We're going to try and understand what in the world happens when the entire world starts showing you dream signs all at once. So how does this glitchy feeling grow into something more? Well, that brings us right into our next section, our collective nightmare. This is where we're going to diagnose the energetic engine that's running behind all this chaos. You see, this isn't just a laundry list of bad news. It's this tangible feeling of being stuck. It's like we're caught in these recurring collective nightmares. We are having these same arguments over and over. We're getting trapped in the same outrage cycles, and we're facing the same inability to solve problems that we all intellectually know can be solved. If you've ever felt like you're just stuck in this endless global debate loop, well, that is the definition of a recurring collective nightmare. So what's actually driving this nightmare? Well, the source material we're digging into introduces this concept called wraiths. Now, these aren't literal ghosts or anything like that. A better way to think of them is as these invasive thought forms. They're basically manifestations of pure, raw fear, and they feed on low vibrations, and they are experts at creating separation, distrust, and that us versus them tribalism. And this quote just nails it. Polarization is, in essence, wraiths hijacking the collective script. It's a fear-based program, really, and it's designed to make us feel isolated, to make us feel defensive. It shoves us into these opposing camps, where any kind of compassionate co-creation becomes energetically impossible. The sheer intensity of the division we're seeing, that's a direct measure of just how successful that fear agenda has been. But, and this is a big but, here is where we make the pivot. This is the crucial turn. Our next section is called Glitches as Dream Signs, because we're about to flip this whole thing on its head and go from seeing this as a terrifying problem to seeing it as an absolutely incredible opportunity. And this shift in perspective is so empowering. When the fundamental rules of our reality, social contracts, economic stability, even the idea of a shared truth, when they all start to bend and flex, it doesn't automatically mean we're doomed. It means the system itself is showing us how fluid it is. It's like the universe has suddenly given us access to the source code, and it's demanding that we make a collective change. So really, we have a choice in how we interpret all these glitches. On one hand, we can see them as a doom signal, and that interpretation, it leads straight to fear, a feeling of breakdown and total helplessness. Our response is just to react and retreat deeper into our corners. Or, and this is the key to everything, we can see them as a dream sign. Then the interpretation completely changes. It becomes an invitation, a call to use our agency, a chance to rewrite the script, and our response shifts from reacting to pausing and consciously participating. To make this really concrete, we can look at Phillip Aisling's own adventures as a kind of personal laboratory. He learned to recognize these tiny, off moments in his dreams, like getting a crazy sunburn out of nowhere or that feeling of exam déjà vu, as signals to wake up and take control of the dream. Well, it's the exact same principle for us. When we see a bizarre news cycle that just defies all logic, that's our collective sunburn moment. That's our shared reality yelling, hey, pay attention. This is the loop you're stuck in. Time to wake up.
Which, of course, brings us to the solution. Section 4 is what we're calling the Great Energetic Pivot. This is all about the conscious shift in our collective energy that's being asked of us right now.
Okay, so here's the crucial point. That glitchy feeling, that constant conflict, it's really a symptom of a massive energy imbalance. For centuries, our whole collective operating system has been running on an unbalanced masculine energy. And to be super clear, these are archetypal energies. This has nothing to do with gender. When it's unbalanced, this energy leads to zero-sum thinking, rigid control, separation, and opposition. The pivot, the solution, is to consciously bring in its counterpart, the receptive feminine energy. That's the energy of building consensus, of flexibility, of unity and harmony. It's the balance that we so desperately need. Now, it is absolutely critical that we frame this correctly. This is an analysis of energetic probability. It is not a political prediction, and it is not a fixed prophecy. For instance, when you hear a take like Bashar's in the 2024 election, that's an energy reading. It's saying that a collective focus on unbalanced, aggressive energy increases the probability of conflict. But here's the thing. Probabilities are not certainties. No timeline is ever locked in. Our collective focus, our conscious choice in this very moment, can shift the path we're on. Which brings us right to our final section, your co-creator toolkit. We've talked about the big picture, the theory. Now let's get into the practical, actionable stuff you can actually use to become a co-creator in our shared reality.
Okay, here is a super powerful technique right from Phillip's journey. It's called the snow fort altitude shift. So the next time you feel triggered by some polarizing news story or an argument, first, just feel the trigger. Acknowledge your reaction without judging it. Step 2. Imagine yourself just ascending, rising up to a high vantage point where you can see the whole landscape of the conflict below. And third, from that higher altitude, just witness all sides with empathy. Try to see the fear that's driving everyone involved, not to excuse it, but to understand it.
From that higher perspective, you can stop asking that divisive question, which is always, how can I win this argument? And instead, you can ask this profoundly unifying one. What shared lesson are we all creating here through this intense polarity? That single reframe completely dissolves the conflict energy because it injects unity right where the fear programming demands separation. And you can anchor this work in your life with some really simple daily practices. You could try something like timeline fork journaling. Each night, just log the day's glitches as these little decision points and then consciously choose your energetic response to them. You could join with others in a simple group intention, just affirming, we co-create harmony. And maybe most importantly, use compassion. Start treating those you disagree with as real co-dreamers, not as NPCs in your game. Because compassion is the ultimate solvent for nightmares.
This really just synthesizes everything we've talked about today. Lucidity scales from personal monsters to world weirdness, one compassionate pivot at a time. The very same tools that you use to face your own inner fears are the exact tools that we need to help stabilize our shared world.
So we want to leave you with this one final provocative thought. You are not just a passive bystander watching a world that might be collapsing. You are an active co-writer of the collective script with every single conscious choice you make. So what if your conscious presence, right here, right now, is the pivot the entire world has been waiting for? We really hope this has given you some practical tools to engage with our wild world in a more lucid and confident way. Please join us for our next explainer, where we're going to take a fascinating look at belief, doubt, and faith in modern times, and explore why so many of us are asking those big questions again. And of course, if you want to go way deeper into the source material for all these powerful ideas, the first editions of The Dreams of Phillip Aisling and The Numinous Nagwawagan are still available. You can find them for $25 on Amazon, or you can get a discount, just $17, when you sign up for the newsletter over at philipaisling.com. Until next time, stay lucid.